You failed 3 sobriety tests, Kyle. The evidence is clear. But I only... It doesn't matter what you think. You're under arrest.
What the hell did you do to my generator? The scream tore through pre-dawn silence at 3:47 a.m. on a Saturday. I sat in my darkened living room with cold coffee and a laptop displaying 6 security camera angles, waiting for exactly this moment. 8 weeks of his lifted F-250 blocking my solar panel array. 8 weeks of his mother wielding HOA authority like a weapon to protect him. 8 weeks watching every official channel fail me. Now, Kyle Brennan stood on my property for the 23rd time, staring at what I'd engineered for him. I took another sip of coffee and smiled. My name is Marcus Chen. I'm 58 years old, retired Navy combat engineer, and I live in Riverside Meadows, a planned community outside Sacramento, California, where every mailbox matches and the HOA regulates everything from fence paint to the exact angle your trash cans can face the street. I moved here 6 years ago after my wife Lynn died from breast cancer. We'd bought the house together, installed the rooftop solar system together, planned to retire here together. She'd been gone 4 years now, but her presence remained in every solar panel on that roof, every kilowatt of clean energy we'd dreamed about generating. The system cost us $28,000. Lynn had researched every component, calculated payback periods, argued with installers about optimal angles. Clean energy means clean conscience, she'd said while we watched them mount the panels. No one can take that from us. She'd been wrong about that last part. It started Memorial Day weekend, 2025. I woke at dawn to check my solar monitor and found the generation rate at 40% capacity. Impossible clear sky, perfect sun angle, panels clean. I went outside and saw why. A white Ford F-250 Super Duty lifted 6 inches on oversized tires, parked diagonally across my driveway, casting shadow over half my solar array. The truck belonged to Kyle Brennan, 28 years old, living with his mother Diane across the street after his 3rd DUI cost him his contractor's license. I'd seen him around, but never spoken to him. Didn't need to. His truck announced everything about him. Oversized rims, window tint so dark it was illegal, exhaust modified to roar like a jet engine, the kind of vehicle designed to intimidate. At 6:15 a.m., Kyle stumbled out of his mother's house, climbed into the truck without looking at my property, and drove off. He'd been there 3 hours. My solar monitor showed I'd lost 47 kilowatt hours of generation. At Sacramento rates, maybe $8. Not about the money, about the principle. About the shadow his truck cast over something Lynn and I built together. I walked over that afternoon and knocked on Diane Brennan's door. She answered in tennis whites, holding a wine glass at 2 p.m. "Mr. Chen, what can I do for you?" Her voice had that HOA president tone, friendly on the surface, steel underneath. "Your son's truck blocked my solar panels this morning. Could you ask him to park elsewhere?" "Oh, Kyle mentioned someone might complain. He didn't realize your panels were so sensitive. He'll be more careful. This is the first time. I'm asking politely that there not be a second." Diane's smile tightened. "Mr. Chen, we live in a community. That means sharing space. Your driveway doesn't have a gate. Easy for someone to make an honest mistake. It's private property. The solar system is documented in HOA records. Blocking it costs me money. Everything costs money, Mr. Chen. But neighborly goodwill is priceless." She closed the door before I could respond. 3 days later, Kyle's truck appeared in my driveway again, 5:30 a.m. on a Thursday. I watched through my bedroom window as he parked in the exact same spot, casting the exact same shadow. This time he left it there until 9 a.m., 4 hours, 63 kilowatt hours lost. I documented it with photos, checked my solar generation logs, added the information to a folder I'd started. Some instinct from 25 years in the Navy told me I'd need evidence eventually. The 3rd time happened a week later. Saturday morning, 4:15 a.m. I heard the truck's modified exhaust from 2 blocks away, watched it pull into my driveway, engine rumbling for another 2 minutes before Kyle shut it off. This time I went outside. Kyle was stumbling toward his mother's house, clearly drunk, reeking of whiskey and marijuana. Kyle. My voice was level. He turned, swaying slightly. Yeah? Your truck is blocking my solar panels. Third time. I need you to move it. Dude, I'm tired. I'll move it later. Move it now. He stepped closer. I could smell the alcohol. Or what, old man? You gonna call the cops? My mom runs this neighborhood. You're nobody. He walked away. The truck stayed until noon. 7 hours. 114 kilowatt hours. I called the non-emergency police line. A dispatcher took my information, said an officer would come when available. Deputy Fisher arrived 3 hours after Kyle had already left. Mid-40 seconds, tired eyes, the look of someone who'd mediated too many neighbor disputes. Mr. Chen, I understand your frustration, but without a gate or no trespassing signs, this is technically a civil matter. The vehicle isn't abandoned, isn't blocking a public road. It's blocking my solar array. That's income loss. I know, sir, but California law on solar access is complicated. Your best option is to install physical barriers or file a civil complaint. He walked across the street and talked to Diane for maybe 5 minutes. I watched her gesture toward my house, shake her head, smile that HOA president's smile. When Fisher came back, he looked even more tired. She says her son didn't realize he was causing problems. Says you haven't been clear about boundaries. I've told him 3 times. She says you're overreacting, that it's shared community space. It's not. It's my property. I understand, Mr. Chen, but unless you want to pursue this legally, there's not much I can do. After Fisher left, I stood in my driveway watching sunlight hit the solar panels. Lynn had stood in this exact spot 4 years ago, hand shielding her eyes, looking up at the array we'd just installed. 30 years, she'd said, these panels will generate clean power for 30 years, long after we're gone, Marcus. That's legacy. She'd been right about the panels. Wrong about the timeline. Cancer took her 18 months after installation. I'd kept the system running perfectly, cleaning panels quarterly, monitoring production daily, maintaining every component exactly to spec. It wasn't just about electricity anymore. It was about keeping my promise to her, about maintaining something we'd built together. And now some drunk kid was parking his truck in the exact spot that cast maximum shadow, costing me generation, costing me money, costing me the one thing I had left that still connected me to Lynn. I walked inside and opened my laptop, started researching California solar access laws, property rights, statutes, HOA regulations. If the system wouldn't protect me, I'd protect myself. But I'd do it right, documented, legal, defensible. The 4th incident happened 3 days later. Same pattern, early morning, truck in my driveway, shadow across my panels. This time I was ready. I'd installed 2 additional security cameras covering the driveway and street, high definition, night vision, cloud backup, everything time-stamped. I documented the entire incident. 4:23 a.m. arrival, 4:26 a.m. engine shutdown, 11:47 a.m. departure, 7 hours, 19 minutes, 119 kilowatt hours lost. I also documented what I found after Kyle left. 2 empty beer cans beside my garage, cigarette butts on my driveway, and a dark oil stain where his truck had been parked. I sent a formal email to Kyle and Diane, copying the HOA board. This is the 4th incident of unauthorized parking on my property. Each incident blocks my solar array, causing documented energy generation loss. I am requesting immediate cessation of this behavior. Continued trespass will result in formal legal action. Kyle's response came 3 hours later. Chill out, boomer. It's just parking. I printed the email, added it to the folder. The HOA board met monthly at the community center. I attended the June meeting with a prepared presentation. 8 slides documenting 4 incidents with photos, timestamps, solar generation data, and calculated financial losses. 22 residents attended. Diane sat at the board table in a pale pink blazer and matching pencil skirt that looked expensive, the kind of outfit meant to project authority. She ran the meeting efficiently, covering landscaping contracts and pool maintenance before opening the floor for resident comments. I stood, kept my voice steady. I need to address a recurring issue. Kyle Brennan has parked on my driveway 4 times in 3 weeks, blocking my solar array. I've asked him to stop. He's refused. I'm requesting the board intervene. Diane didn't look up from her notes. Mr. Chen, the HOA doesn't mediate personal disputes between neighbors. You need to work that out yourselves. This isn't personal, it's property rights. Section 7.2 of the CC&R specifically protects solar installations from obstruction. Your son is violating that. Then install a gate. Submit a modification request. We'll review it in 90 days. Margaret Kowalski, a retired teacher who lived next door to me, raised her hand. Diane, if this was anyone else's kid, you'd find them. Why is Kyle different? Diane's voice went cold. Because Kyle made honest mistakes. Mr. Chen is being unreasonably territorial. I suggest he learn to coexist like the rest of us. The room went quiet. A few sympathetic faces, more blank stares. Tom Valdez, a postal worker who'd served on the board for 10 years, met my eyes and gave a small shake of his head. Not worth it, the gesture said. You'll lose. I sat down. The meeting ended 20 minutes later. People filed out without talking to me. Margaret squeezed my shoulder as she passed. I'm sorry, Marcus. She's got everyone scared. That night, Kyle's truck appeared again. 1 a.m. I watched through my window as he parked, as the shadow fell across my panels, even in moonlight. This time, he left it until 8 a.m., 7 hours during prime generation time. Cost $23.67 in lost production. But more than that, it was the disrespect. The message that my property, my solar system, Lynn's legacy, meant nothing compared to Kyle's convenience. I made a decision that night. The official channels had failed. The HOA president was protecting her son. The police couldn't help without gates and signs, so I'd engineer a solution myself. Just like I'd done in the Navy when official protocols failed and creative problem solving was the only option, I spent the next morning at the public library, researching California property law. Penal Code Section 602K covered trespassing, Civil Code Section 801.5 protected solar access, but enforcement required proof, documentation, multiple attempts at resolution. I had all that. What I needed now was a defensive measure that was legal, proportional, and devastating. I called an old Navy buddy, James Morrison, who'd become a civil engineer after retirement. We'd served together in Seabees, building forward operating bases in Iraq. James, hypothetically, if you wanted to disable a vehicle on your property without causing injury or permanent damage, how would you do it? He laughed. What are you planning, Marcus? Protecting my solar array from repeated trespassing. All right. Hypothetically, you'd want something that immobilizes without destruction. Tire deflation is cleanest. Remove valve stems. Tires go flat gradually. Vehicles stuck but undamaged. Easily reversible. What about legality? California lets you protect property with reasonable measures. Keyword, reasonable. Means proportional, non-destructive, defensive, not punitive. Document everything. Warn them first. Notify law enforcement of your intentions. Create a paper trail. We talked for another hour. He walked me through engineering specs, liability concerns, legal boundaries. By the time we hung up, I had a complete plan. That afternoon, I drafted a formal warning letter. Took me 4 hours to get the language exactly right. To Kyle Brennan and Diane Brennan. This letter constitutes final notice that continued unauthorized parking on my property will result in defensive measures. I have documented 5 incidents of your vehicle blocking my solar array between dates. I have reported these to law enforcement, raised the issue with the HOA board, and directly requested cessation. All attempts have been ignored. Under California law, property owners have the right to implement reasonable defensive measures against repeated trespass. Effective immediately, any vehicle found on my property may be temporarily immobilized through non-destructive means. You will be responsible for all costs associated with removal or repair. This is your only warning. I printed 2 copies, sent them certified mail with return receipt requested. Both were delivered within 3 days. Diane signed for hers at 11:23 a.m. on a Wednesday. Kyle signed for his at 2:47 p.m. the same day. I filed the green cards in my folder. Then I drove to the Sacramento County Sheriff's Office downtown and filed a formal notice of intent to implement property defense measures. Attached copies of everything: the 5 incident reports, the warning letter, the certified mail receipts, my solar generation logs showing financial losses, photos of the truck on my property. A clerk stamped my submission. Your case number is SC20254721. Reference this if you need to later. Thank you. Property dispute? Something like that. She looked at my documentation. Good luck. You'll need it. That weekend, I practiced. Bought a valve stem removal tool from AutoZone for $6.99. Practiced on my own car until I could remove all 4 valve stems in under 3 minutes. The tires deflated slowly, took about 20 minutes to go from 35 pounds per square inches to completely flat. No explosive decompression, no damage to wheels or tires, just gradual loss of air. Easily reversible with an air compressor. More importantly, it met the legal definition of reasonable defensive measure proportional to the violation. Non-destructive, designed to immobilize, not destroy. I was ready. Now I just had to wait. The wait lasted 6 days. Then, at 2:17 a.m. on a Friday morning, my phone buzzed with a motion alert from my driveway cameras. I grabbed my laptop and watched the live feed. Kyle's white F-250 rolling slowly down the street, headlights off, engine modified to sound like a freight train even at idle. He turned into my driveway without hesitation, same spot as always, perfectly positioned to cast maximum shadow across my solar array when the sun came up. Engine shut off at 2:19 a.m. Kyle stumbled toward his mother's house. I counted to 30, making sure he was inside. Then I pulled on dark clothes, grabbed the valve stem tool and a small flashlight, and walked outside. The neighborhood was silent, a few porch lights on, but no movement, no witnesses. The F-250 sat in my driveway like it owned the place, chrome rims glinting under the street light, window tint so dark I couldn't see inside. I crouched beside the driver's side front wheel, found the valve stem. The tool fit perfectly. 1/4 turn and the stem came free with a soft hiss of escaping air. I moved to the rear wheel. Same process. Then the passenger side. Front wheel, rear wheel. 4 valve stems in my pocket. 4 tires slowly deflating. The whole operation took 2 minutes, 43 seconds. I was back inside before the first tire went flat. I made fresh coffee and sat in my living room watching the security feeds. The truck settled gradually as air escaped, front end dropping first, then the rear. By 3 a.m., all 4 tires were completely flat. Sidewalls collapsed, wheels resting on rubber. The truck wasn't going anywhere without a tow. At 3:47 a.m., lights came on in Diane's house. 30 seconds later, Kyle burst out the front door, phone in hand, face illuminated by the screen. He ran to the truck, saw the flat tires, and unleashed a string of profanity loud enough to wake neighbors 3 houses away. What the hell? Mom! Mom! Someone slashed my tires! Diane appeared in her doorway, bathrobe and slippers, hair perfect despite the hour. She walked over and examined the truck with Kyle. I watched through my window as they circled it, looking for damage, finding none. Just 4 perfectly flat tires with no visible punctures. Kyle pulled out his phone, probably calling 911. I called them first. The dispatcher answered on the second ring. Sacramento County 911, what's your emergency? This is Marcus Chen at address. There's a vehicle immobilized on my property. The owner is outside making noise. I need an officer to document this as a trespassing incident. Sir, did you say the vehicle is immobilized? Yes. I implemented defensive measures after multiple trespassing incidents. I have documentation and prior notification on file with your department. Case number SC20254721. Pause. Hold, please. I waited, watching Kyle pace beside his truck. After a minute, the dispatcher returned. Officers are en route. ETA 8 minutes. Please stay inside until they arrive. Thank you. Deputy Fisher arrived first, same officer who'd responded to my initial call weeks ago. He looked even more tired now, pulled up behind the F-250, shined his flashlight on the flat tires. A second deputy I didn't recognize arrived 3 minutes later. Kyle was yelling before they even got out of their cars. This guy sabotaged my truck. He slashed my tires. That's vandalism. That's a crime. Fisher walked around the truck slowly, examining each wheel. Your tires aren't slashed. They're deflated. No cuts, no damage. Someone removed your valve stems. He looked at me on my porch. Mr. Chen, did you disable this vehicle? Yes, Deputy. I implemented a defensive measure after documenting 6 incidents of unauthorized parking on my property. I have video evidence of all 6 incidents. I sent certified warning letters. I notified your department in writing 3 weeks ago. I handed him my folder, now 3 inches thick with documentation. Fisher flipped through it. His expression shifted from tired to something like resigned understanding. Kyle was still yelling, "You can't just disable someone's truck! That's illegal!" Actually, Fisher said, still reading my documentation, in California, property owners can take reasonable defensive measures against repeated trespass. Mr. Chen warned you. You ignored him. He didn't damage your vehicle, just immobilized it. But your truck is on his property for the 6th documented time, after written warnings, after police reports. You're trespassing, Mr. Brennan. He's defending his property. Diane stepped forward, that HOA president authority in her voice. Deputy, this is excessive. My son made parking mistakes. Your son was warned 6 times, received certified legal notice, continued to trespass. Mr. Chen's action is proportional and legal. Fisher closed the folder. Here's what happens next. You'll call a tow truck to remove your vehicle from Mr. Chen's property. That'll cost you about $300. Then you'll stay off his property permanently. If you trespass again, you'll be arrested. Understand? Kyle started to argue, but Diane grabbed his arm. We understand. I stayed on my porch while they called a tow truck. Took an hour for it to arrive. The operator looked at the flat tires, looked at the police presence, and charged Diane $385 for complex recovery. They loaded the F-250 onto a flatbed. Kyle and Diane left in Diane's car. The deputies finished their report and left. By 6 a.m., my driveway was empty. The sun came up at 6:23. My solar panels began generating at full capacity for the first time in weeks. I watched the monitor. 1.2 kilowatts, then 2.7, then 4.3 as the sun climbed. Perfect generation curve. No shadows, no obstructions, just clean energy, exactly like Lynn and I had planned. That morning, the neighborhood group chat exploded. Someone had recorded the tow truck and posted it online. Truck immobilized in Riverside Meadows after repeated trespassing, owner claims HOA president's son targeted. The video had 3,000 views by noon. Comments ran 80% in my favor. Good for him. HOA presidents think they're above the law. Bet that kid thinks twice before trespassing again. A few called me dangerous, said I'd overreacted. But most understood. I'd exhausted every official channel, documented everything, warned them clearly, and implemented a measured response that caused 0 permanent damage. I spent that afternoon cleaning my solar panels, checking connections, verifying system performance. Everything perfect. Generation rates exactly where they should be. That evening, Margaret from next door brought over dinner. Marcus, that was brilliant. Everyone's talking about it. I just protected my property. You did more than that. You showed people that bullies don't win if you're willing to stand up smart. We ate together, talked about the neighborhood, about how Diane had intimidated residents for years with selective enforcement and petty fines. Margaret had been fined $400 last year for having the wrong shade of beige on her garage door. Tom Valdez had been threatened with foreclosure over a $150 fine for Christmas lights. The pattern was clear. Diane used her HOA position as a weapon, protected her son from accountability, and expected everyone to just accept it. Sunday morning, I received an email from Diane's attorney, a law firm in downtown Sacramento, with expensive letterhead. Notice of intent to sue. Property damage, conversion, intentional infliction of emotional distress. Demand, $15,000. I forwarded it to the attorney I'd consulted earlier, Linda Park, who specialized in property law. She called me 30 minutes later. Mr. Chen, this is exactly what I warned you might happen. Can we beat it? Easily. You documented everything perfectly. You warned them. You notified law enforcement. You used a reasonable, non-destructive method. Any judge will see this as frivolous retaliation. So what do? We file an anti-SLAPP motion. California has the strongest anti-SLAPP law in the country. If we win, they pay your attorney fees. How much will this cost? My retainer is $5,000, but you'll get it back when we win, plus damages. I thought for exactly 5 seconds. Do it. I'll file tomorrow. That afternoon, Kyle moved out. I watched from my window as he loaded boxes into a friend's truck. Took 4 trips to empty his room. He never looked at my house, just worked in silence while Diane stood on the porch watching. When he left, she stood there alone for another 20 minutes, arms crossed, staring at nothing. The F-250 appeared in her driveway 2 days later with a for sale sign. It sold within a week $8,000 below market value because the buyer knew about the incident, knew the truck had a reputation now. But Diane wasn't done. 3 days after the lawsuit was filed, I woke at 5:30 a.m. to the sound of breaking glass. Stumbled downstairs to find my mailbox demolished, smashed, with what looked like a baseball bat, shards of metal and wood scattered across my lawn, envelopes torn and scattered in the street. I stood there in my bathrobe, morning cold biting through thin fabric, looking at the destruction. Documented everything with my phone. 23 photos from different angles. Timestamp clearly visible. Called the sheriff's office non-emergency line. A different deputy arrived an hour later. Rodriguez, younger than Fisher, seemed more interested. Mr. Chen, this is the property dispute case, right? The one where you immobilized the truck? Yes. Looks like retaliation. That's what I think. He walked around the mailbox, took his own photos. Federal offense to destroy a mailbox. I'll file a report, but proving who did it will be difficult unless you have camera footage. My cameras don't reach the street. I'll expand coverage today. That afternoon, 4 hours after the mailbox incident, I came home from the hardware store to find Ashol spray-painted across my garage door in foot-high red letters. Fresh paint, still tacky when I touched it. More photos. Another call to Rodriguez. He arrived within 20 minutes this time, looked at the graffiti, then at me. Mr. Chen, someone's trying to intimidate you. Hard. You need to consider your safety. I'm not leaving my home because someone vandalized property. I'm not suggesting you leave. I'm suggesting you get serious about security. More cameras, motion lights, maybe stay with family for a few days until this cools down. This is my home. My wife and I built this life here. I'm not running, Rodriguez nodded slowly. Understood, but be careful. Vandalism can escalate. He was right. The next morning, I woke to find my car keyed long gouges in the paint on both sides. Trunk to front bumper, professional detail shop estimated $3,200 in damage. I filed the insurance claim, documented everything, added it to my growing folder of retaliation evidence. But the worst came that evening. I sat down at my computer to check my solar generation data, something I did every night, monitoring system performance, calculating production, and couldn't log in. Wrong password. I tried my backup password. Wrong. Tried the default reset procedure. Nothing worked. Someone had accessed my system remotely and locked me out completely. I called the solar monitoring company's emergency line, spent 90 minutes on hold. Finally reached a technician who remote accessed my system and discovered someone had not only changed my passwords, but also altered my generation settings, throttling my output to 60% capacity. Mr. Chen, this looks like a deliberate hack. Someone got your Wi-Fi credentials and accessed your system through your home network. Can you fix it? I can reset everything and secure it better, but you'll need a new router with stronger encryption, and you should probably file a police report. This is computer intrusion, potentially a federal crime. The service call cost $400. New router, $280. 2 days of lost generation while the system was offline, $47. Every incident, I documented. Every incident, I reported. Every incident made me more tired, more angry, more aware that Diane wasn't just fighting me legally, she was trying to break me psychologically, make me give up, make me regret ever standing up to her son. Linda called that Friday. Marcus, we need to talk about what's happening. The vandalism, the harassment, it's escalating in a pattern that concerns me professionally. Concerns you how? It means Diane feels threatened. Cornered. And cornered people do stupid things. I've seen cases where property disputes turned violent. I need you to take this seriously. I am taking it seriously. I'm documenting everything. I mean seriously, for your safety. Have you considered a restraining order? Based on what evidence? I can't prove Diane's behind any of this. The timing's not coincidental. Lawsuit filed Monday. Mailbox destroyed Thursday, graffiti Friday, car keyed Saturday, system hacked Sunday. That's a clear escalation pattern immediately following legal action. She paused. Marcus, I've been practicing property law for 20 years. I've seen HOA disputes turn ugly. But I've never seen retaliation this systematic, this fast. Diane's trying to make you drop the lawsuit by making your life unbearable. We need to go on offense. What do you suggest? Emergency hearing. We present all this evidence and request a restraining order and a preliminary injunction preventing any HOA action against you. Make it clear to a judge that Diane's weaponizing her position. How fast can you file? Monday morning. Hearing by end of week if the judge considers it urgent. Do it. That weekend, I installed 4 additional security cameras, 12 total now, covering every inch of my property and the street frontage. Cost $1,600. Also installed motion-activated spotlights that would illuminate anyone approaching my house at night. Upgraded my router to commercial grade with military encryption. Changed every password on every system. My home was becoming a fortress. Sunday evening, I found motor oil poured across my driveway, thick black puddles that stained the concrete, created slip hazards, and required professional cleaning. The cleaning company charged $800 for emergency weekend service using industrial degreasers and pressure washing. While they worked, I sat on my porch with my laptop, adding more documentation to the file. Margaret came over around 5 p.m., saw the oil stains being cleaned. Marcus, this has to stop. You can't live like this. It will stop. When Diane realizes she can't intimidate me into dropping the lawsuit, what if it gets worse? What if someone gets hurt? Then they'll face assault charges on top of everything else. I'm not backing down, Margaret. Lynn would have told me to stand my ground. That's what I'm doing. She left, looking worried. I didn't blame her. I was worried too. Not for my safety exactly, but for what this was costing financially, emotionally, mentally. Every day felt like a siege. Every night I checked cameras obsessively, jumped at every sound, slept in 3-hour increments. But giving up wasn't an option. Giving up meant Diane won. meant property rights didn't matter, meant bullies could terrorize you into submission if they just pushed hard enough. I'd fought in the Navy, defended bases under actual hostile fire. This was different, but no less real. Different enemy, different tactics, same principle. Hold your ground or lose everything. Then, on a Tuesday evening, 3 weeks into the harassment campaign, everything hit bottom. I came home from grocery shopping to find Margaret on my doorstep, visibly shaken, hands trembling, eyes red from crying. "Marcus," her voice cracked. "I need to tell you something. What happened? Diane came to my house an hour ago. She stood in my living room and told me." Margaret took a shaky breath. "She said if I testified for you in court, she'd fine me for every tiny violation she could find. My fence is half an inch too tall according to some old bylaw. My flower beds extend 3 inches past the setback line. My garage door is the wrong shade of beige. She cataloged everything, Marcus. Everything. Said she'd fine me $200 per violation per day until I either moved or went bankrupt. That's extortion. She called it enforcing community standards. But Marcus, I can't afford it. I live on Social Security and a small pension. If she starts fining me hundreds of dollars a day," Margaret's voice broke completely. "I can't help you. I can't testify." "I'm so sorry." I felt something cold and heavy settle in my chest. Not anger at Margaret, she was a victim too. Anger at Diane, at the system that gave her power, at my own helplessness to protect people who'd supported me. "It's okay, Margaret. I understand. It's not okay. You stood up for yourself. You did everything right. And now she's threatening everyone who might help you. Tom Valdez got the same visit, so did the Johnsons, the Reyes family. She's going door to door, Marcus. Systematically intimidating every potential witness. Did anyone go to the police? We're all scared. Most people here are retirees on fixed incomes. We can't afford lawyers. Can't afford fines. Can't afford to fight someone who controls the HOA. After Margaret left, I sat alone in my house lights off, solar panels glowing faintly in the twilight outside, and felt something I hadn't felt in 25 years of military service. The urge to quit. To just give up. Sell the house. Move somewhere else. Start over. Let Diane win, because fighting her was destroying not just me, but everyone around me. I thought about Lynn. About what she'd say if she could see me now, sitting in the dark, considering surrender. She'd be disappointed. Or maybe she'd understand. Maybe she'd tell me that some battles aren't worth fighting, that protecting your pride isn't worth making your neighbors suffer. I didn't know anymore. That night, I didn't sleep. Lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to every sound outside, wondering if this would be the night someone escalated from vandalism to something worse. Wondering if standing up for property rights was worth this level of stress, this level of constant fear, this level of collateral damage to innocent people. By dawn, I'd made a decision. I called Linda at 7 a.m. "I'm dropping the lawsuit." Silence. Then, "Marcus, no. We're winning. We have evidence of everything. And Diane's threatening witnesses. She's intimidating elderly people on fixed incomes. My neighbor was crying on my doorstep yesterday because she's terrified of being fined into bankruptcy. I can't do that to them." "So Diane gets away with it?" "She harasses you, vandalizes your property, intimidates witnesses, and faces no consequences? She faces whatever the DA decides to charge her with. But I'm done with the civil case. I'm done putting targets on my neighbors' backs. Marcus, if you drop this now, you're setting a precedent. You're telling every HOA tyrant in California that intimidation works. That if you just threaten enough people, you can avoid accountability." I know. My voice was flat, defeated. But I can't keep fighting if it means destroying other people's lives. Linda was quiet for a long moment. "Give me 48 hours. Don't file anything yet. Let me try something." "What?" "Just trust me. 48 hours. She hung up before I could argue. Those 48 hours were the longest of my life. I went through the motions, checked solar panels, monitored generation, cleaned up another round of vandalism. Someone threw eggs at my house Tuesday night, but felt like I was operating on autopilot. Waiting for Linda to call back, knowing whatever she tried probably wouldn't work. Preparing myself mentally to drop the lawsuit and just survive. She called Wednesday afternoon. Emergency hearing is Friday at 9 a.m. Judge Patricia Reynolds. She's tough. Former prosecutor, takes witness intimidation very seriously. Margaret and the others won't testify. Diane threatened them. They won't have to. I subpoenaed Diane's phone records, text messages, emails, used your vandalism police reports to establish probable cause. Marcus, I have everything. Messages to other board members coordinating the harassment. Text to someone named Jason discussing making Chen's life hell. Email to her lawyer discussing neutralizing witnesses. It's all there. How did you get phone records without a Jason's? Criminal investigation? Because there is a criminal investigation. I contacted the DA Monday after Margaret told you about the threats. Witness intimidation is a felony. They opened a file Tuesday. I coordinated with them to subpoena records for both cases, civil and criminal. We're not fighting alone anymore. The state of California is fighting with us. Something shifted in my chest. Not hope exactly, but the absence of hopelessness. Friday at 9. And Marcus, wear your Navy dress uniform. Let Judge Reynolds see who she's dealing with. Friday morning, I wore dress blues for the first time in 6 years. Medals from Kuwait, Iraq, Afghanistan. 25 years of service, sewn into fabric. I looked at myself in the mirror and barely recognized the man staring back, older, grayer, tired. But the uniform still fit, still meant something. The courthouse was downtown Sacramento, old building with marble floors and high ceilings. Linda met me outside courtroom 4C wearing a dark suit, carrying 3 file boxes. Diane's lawyer tried to get this hearing postponed. Judge denied it. She read the filings and wants answers today. We went inside. 20 seats for observers, half filled with people I recognized. Tom Valdez, Margaret, the Johnsons, other Riverside Meadows residents who'd been threatened. They'd come despite their fear, come to witness what happened next. Diane arrived with her attorney, wearing a pale pink blazer and skirt, same outfit from that first board meeting, armor of authority. But she looked diminished somehow, thinner, dark circles under eyes that no makeup could quite hide. The bailiff called the session to order. Judge Reynolds entered early 60s, silver hair, sharp eyes that missed nothing. She sat, opened a file, read in silence for 3 minutes while everyone waited. Finally, she looked up. This case concerns me greatly. Mrs. Brennan, you're accused of systematic witness intimidation, property vandalism, conspiracy, abuse of HOA authority, and harassment. These are serious allegations. How do you respond? Diane's lawyer stood, expensive suit and confident posture. Your Honor, Mrs. Brennan has simply exercised her authority as HOA president to enforce community standards. Mr. Inster of Inambaya's case. Chen's allegations are speculative, unsupported by direct evidence. Let me stop you there. Judge Reynolds held up a document. The district attorney provided me with evidence from an ongoing criminal investigation. Text messages from your client to multiple Riverside Meadows residents. Quote, if you testify for Chen, I will fine you $200 per day for every bylaw violation I can document. End quote. That's witness intimidation. It's not speculation. It's a felony. I showed up with Linda and 3 inches of additional documentation, vandalism reports, harassment logs, witness statements from neighbors who were brave enough to document Diane's threats, even if they wouldn't testify publicly. The judge was a woman in her early 60s named Patricia Reynolds, stern face, no-nonsense demeanor. She read through our filing for 10 minutes while we sat in silence. Finally, she looked up. Mrs. Brennan, you're accused of systematic harassment, witness intimidation, and property vandalism in retaliation for Mr. Chen's defensive property measures. How do you respond? Diane's lawyer stood. Your Honor, These allegations are speculative. There's no direct evidence linking Mrs. Brennan to any criminal acts. There's a pattern, Judge Reynolds interrupted. Mr. Chen's property has been vandalized 5 times in 3 weeks. Witnesses report that Mrs. Brennan threatened them with HOA retaliation if they support Mr. Chen. That's textbook intimidation. Your Honor, Mrs. Brennan is simply exercising her authority as HOA president by threatening residents with fines if they testify in a civil case. That's not authority. That's corruption. The judge looked at me. Mr. Chen, you implemented what amounts to a self-help remedy against trespassing. Legally gray, but based on your documentation. Defensible. However, what happened afterward concerns me. Did you expect this level of retaliation? No, Your Honor. I expected a lawsuit, which is why I hired counsel. I didn't expect vandalism and intimidation. Mrs. Brennan, Judge Reynolds turned to Diane. I'm granting a temporary restraining order. You are prohibited from contacting Mr. Chen, from coming within 500 feet of his property, and from threatening or retaliating against any resident who may be called as a witness. Violation will result in immediate arrest. Do you understand? Diane's face went pale. Yes, Your Honor. Furthermore, I'm referring this matter to the district attorney for investigation of witness intimidation. That's a felony, Mrs. Brennan. You should take it seriously. The gavel came down. We left the courthouse, and I felt something shift. Not victory, but a turning point. Diane had overplayed her hand, turned a simple property dispute into something that could destroy her. The DA investigation moved fast. 2 detectives interviewed me, Margaret, Tom Valdez, and 6 other residents. Everyone documented Diane's threats. The pattern was undeniable. She'd systematically tried to intimidate witnesses, abuse her HOA position to retaliate, and orchestrate a harassment campaign. 4 weeks after the restraining order, criminal charges were filed, 2 counts of witness intimidation, 1 count of abuse of authority, multiple counts of vandalism, conspiracy. Diane was arrested on a Wednesday morning. I wasn't there to see it, but Margaret called to tell me. They took her in handcuffs, news cameras were there, it's all over local TV. The video went viral. Diane Brennan, HOA president, wearing her pale pink blazer, the same one she'd worn at that board meeting, being led to a police car, while reporters shouted questions. The comments online were merciless. HOA Karen gets arrested. This is what happens when power goes unchecked. Good. These HOA tyrants need consequences. I felt no satisfaction, just exhaustion. Just the quiet knowledge that I'd defended my property, documented everything correctly, and let the system finally work the way it was supposed to. The civil lawsuit went to trial 3 months later. I testified for 2 hours, walked the jury through every incident, every warning, every attempt at official resolution, showed them photos of Kyle's truck on my driveway, showed them my solar generation logs with documented losses, showed them the certified warning letters, showed them the sheriff's department notation confirming I'd notified them before implementing defensive measures. Linda was methodical, professional. She made the case simple. Repeated trespassing, documented losses, exhausted remedies, reasonable defensive response. Then the harassment, the vandalism, the intimidation, all documented, all traceable back to Diane's retaliation. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. They found in my favor on every count. Awarded me $12,500 in damages, $8,000 in attorney fees, and $5,000 in punitive damages for the harassment. Total $25,500. But more importantly, they sent a message. Property rights matter, self-defense is legal when done correctly, and HOA presidents aren't above the law. Diane pleaded guilty to the criminal charges 3 months later, got 18 months probation, 300 hours community service, and a permanent ban from serving in any HOA leadership position. Her name appeared in the Sacramento Bee with the headline, Riverside Meadows HOA President Convicted in Witness Intimidation Case. The neighborhood changed after that. New HOA board got elected, Tom Valdez became president, they rewrote bylaws to include oversight provisions, banned retaliation clauses, created resident advocate positions. The reforms were small but meaningful, and every time I looked at my solar panels, at the generation monitor showing perfect output day after day, I thought about Lynn, about what she'd said when we installed the system. Clean energy means clean conscience. She'd been right. Not just about the solar panels, but about standing up for what's right, about maintaining boundaries, about refusing to let bullies win just because fighting back is hard. Spring came. The F-250 never returned. Kyle stayed in Los Angeles. Diane's house went up for sale 6 months after her conviction. A young family bought it, professionals with 2 kids who introduced themselves the day they moved in. We heard what happened, the husband said. We respect what you did. Glad to have neighbors who stand up for themselves. I thanked them and went back to my garden. 1 year after the incident, I was cleaning my solar panels when Margaret came over with iced tea. We sat on my patio, watching the sun move across the sky. You know what I learned from all this? She said. What? That sometimes the system only works if you're willing to make it work. You could have given up after the first police visit. Could have installed a gate and called it done, but you fought back the right way, the expensive way. I corrected, but the right way, she smiled. The right way. That evening, I sat on my patio watching the sunset, solar panels glowing gold in the fading light. My generation monitor showed another perfect day, 47.3 kilowatt hours, 0 shadows, 0 interruptions, clean energy. Clean conscience. Somewhere, Lynn was smiling. I'd kept the promise, protected what we built together, maintained the boundary between our property and the chaos outside. Not with anger or violence, but with documentation, patience, and precision. The Navy had taught me that systems are only as strong as the people willing to enforce them. Lynn had taught me that clean energy meant more than electricity. It meant living with integrity, standing up for principle, refusing to let convenience override what's right. I'd combined both lessons, defended my property, documented everything, let the legal system work exactly as it was designed to work when you give it no choice but to function correctly. Kyle's truck never came back. My solar panels generated clean power every day. And in Riverside Meadows, HOA presidents learned a new lesson. Authority has limits, and crossing them has consequences. The driveway was clean. The panels were clean. And the conscience Lynn had talked about? That was clean too. I finished my tea and went inside, leaving the panels to capture the last light of day, storing energy for tomorrow. Just like always, just like we'd planned.